Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, once again, as per your respective time zone. On behalf of entire Evosys Managed Services team, we'd like to welcome you all 22A Benefits and Compensation Advisory webinar session. This important session is to keep you fully synchronized with the new features and functionalities as a part of this quarterly release which Oracle provides. My name is Hardik Patel, and I'm an operations manager here at Evosys Managed Services team. Today, I'm your host for this session, and I'm glad to introduce my colleague Sarthak Trivedi, who's part of our vast HCM team at Evosys. Today, he will take us through all the benefits and compensation updates for 22A quarterly release. Today's session is planned for around 45 to 60 minutes, and we'll also make sure that we also leave some time to answer all your questions you may have. Before we move to today's agenda, let's have a quickly look at the important disclaimer. As we all noticed that Oracle has notified some customers about 22A upgrade happening along with 22B in the month of May, so customers are requested to check the respective notifications accordingly. However, this webinar is mainly to equip you with the latest updates on 22A. We would like to convey you our approach towards the Oracle updates in a very simple method. We'll be taking you through vital analyses for the 22A updates done by our experts, which will help you incorporating new features and updates easily into your system. We'll also sync you on any bugs or known issues if there are any. It's good to have an interactive session, so please do ask questions through chat or question panel, and we'll answer them at the end of the session and during the session as well. We've got some experts available from the HCM team. They are ready to help you there. In case if you run out of time, we'll also make sure to respond back to you by connecting you at a later stage on any of your questions. We'll quickly tell you how we have crafted the structure of this session. The first thing is list of new features coming into 22A, detailing on features, so you get brief understanding on what new features are all about. Next one is what are the business benefits, an important takeaway for you as decision maker. There are 4 components where we have done in-depth analysis of features which we are going to present to you today. The first one is impact level analysis, which demonstrate the impact on end user. If it's a low impact, then regression testing can be avoided or not. If it's a high impact, then we need to opt for regression testing. Second one, which is we all are aware that there are some features which are by default auto-enabled by Oracle, and there are some which we need to opt for. And the third one highlights the nature of the feature. There would be certain configurations which may be required, or some can be used without any changes. And the last one is a quick win. This term we use to simply convey that what is ready to use by investing minimum amount of time and what requires significant amount of time and effort to make use of this feature. So before I hand it over to my colleague, we would quickly like to know that which industry your organization belongs to on the quick poll, if you can help us with, please. Thank you so much. We'll be closing the poll. And with this, I'll immediately hand it over to my colleague Sarthak, and he'll take you through for today's update. Thank you. Over to you, Sarthak.
Thanks, Hardik, for the introduction, and greetings to all. We will now move on to the benefits and compensation quarterly upgrades right away. So we have analyzed the enhancement upgrades in the following pattern. There are 20 upgrades released by Oracle for benefits and compensation this year. Out of 20 upgrades, 19 are quick wins and 1 upgrade lies in the rest category. And apart from this, we also have 2 OTBI enhancement features. Here, all the quick wins are the updates that require minimal amount of time to set up for both the parties. While on the other hand, the updates in the rest category requires time and effort to set up and might also take some regression testing prior implementation. Moving on to a first category of the updates, we have quick wins, default with no configuration required. Under this category, we have our first feature as display more than 500 derived factors on eligibility profiles. This feature is primarily focused to make life easy of the benefit configurator. This feature is available when eligibility profile is created and then derived factors such as length of service and hours worked are added to it. Now with this update, a search option is available to search the derived factors by searching their names. Previously, there was the limitation to select derived factors from a lot of just 500 derived factors, and that too from an alphabetically arranged list. So this update makes searching the derived factors quite easier, and in addition to that, there can be more derived factors to choose from, providing more flexibility to the configurator. Moving on to our next feature, import and export eligibility profile in functional setup manager. Currently, we can just import and create new objects through importing them from a source environment to a target environment. This enhancement enables us to update all the existing objects in the target environment as well. This makes it easier to make changes to an object such as an eligibility profile in a single environment and then updating the same object in all the required environments, saving time and efforts. For this update, it is important to keep in mind that the corresponding object should already be present in the target environment, and, and then only the update of that object shall take place. And also, there should be no change to the key attributes of that particular object. To navigate, this feature can be accessed from Manage Export and Import processes in Setup and Maintenance area. Moving ahead to the next enhancement update, we have Extend Open Enrollment for new hires. This update might interest all the benefit administrators present here who previously had to put in quite an effort to close all the live events in open state to make way for the open enrollments. Previously, closing the live events prematurely rendered the employees with less time to make their choices. So to address this concern, this update offers extension to open enrollment window without having to close any open live event, giving employees more time to determine and opt for their choices, and also saving benefit administrator time and effort. For this update, let's keep in mind that this is a default feature for which steps to extend the open enrollment window remains the same. So our next quick win in our list is use standard payroll frequency. This update is again useful for the benefit configurators as this enhancement features 10-day payroll frequency, that is 36 periods per year that can be opted after this update. Basically, this feature enables benefit calculations to take place on 10th, 20th, and the last calendar day of every month, giving flexibility to use 10-day payroll frequency to calculate benefit deductions. As far as navigation is concerned, this update will be available on the first train stop, that is under basic details in benefit program configuration setup. Moving on to the next update, we have new check while changing the start date of contacts with existing enrollments. This new features bring about the restrictions for HR specialists. This restrictions comes into the play when an HR tries to change the start date of a contact, and that contact already have some active designation in some benefit plan before the new start date. If there is any attempt to do so, an error message pops up stating this contact exists as a beneficiary or a dependent on some benefit plan. To change start date in such scenarios from now on, benefit administrator would first have to back out all the active life events and then change the start date of that contact. This enhancement will prevent chances of data corruption in such cases in future events. Moving towards next update feature, we have delete generating billing charges. This enhancement enables the benefit administrator to delete incorrect billing charges that are in unpaid status. Previously, when a billing charge was generated, it was not possible to delete that charge. With this update, the generating billing charges can now be deleted if in case there was any incorrect entry made in them, but provided they were in an unpaid status. After deleting the incorrect bills, these bills don't show up in the participants' year-to-date totals, and they don't appear as dues in subsequent bills as well. Here, we should be cognizant of the fact that only the latest unpaid billing charges can be deleted. If there are future dated billing charges, they must be deleted first in order to delete a specific unpaid billing charge. With this, we have discussed all the enhancement items for benefits under Quick Win with no configuration required category. And now we will dive into the updates items for Compensation Cloud for the same category. The first update item on the list for compensation is added column for administrator worker view. This update is tailor-made for compensation administrators, as this update features the inclusion of all the worksheet columns to the administrator worker page. Previously, some columns were unavailable on this page. Now all the below mentioned columns are added, like business unit, working hours, years in job, years in position, etc. Please do have a good look at all the updated fields on this slide and on to the next slide as well. You can also refer to the shared presentation and the test script later to see all the newly included attributes for this enhancement. Moving on to our next item in an enhancement catalog, we have change in predefined alert when primary hierarchy is refreshed. This update retains the predefined alert. Worksheet manager doesn't match the line manager hierarchy. Even after scheduling and running the refresh primary manager hierarchy process. After this update, this alert will remain visible. Previously, this alert would clear up after running the aforesaid refresh process. For the reference, this alert informs the current worksheet line manager of the employee that he is not the line manager of the current record. Moving on to our next update item, on our individual compensation allocation in job offers when multiple element entries are not allowed. This feature will be available when an internal candidate's job offer will be processed. And with that, all the existing individual compensation plans are to be copied to the new proposed assignment. With this, the update of the copy of individual compensation plans happens even when the person have same individual compensation plans in their current assignment, and also when the element setup does not allow creation of multiple element entries for the recurring element. This enhancement works differently with three different cases. The first is when payment for current assignment have already started. As you can see here, previous existing plan gets end dated on the day prior of the offered plan start date. The second case arises when payments for current assignment start in some future date. Here also, previous existing plan gets end dated on one day prior to the start of offered plan. The third case is when payment for both individual compensation plans start on the same day. In this scenario, system gives out a warning stating copy process couldn't be done for offered compensation allocation. Moving on to our next update item, in our checklist we have update for worksheet approval task. This update is available in approval task under configure worksheet display in workforce compensation plans. Here, approval task has been updated and a new tab actions have been added now. Under this tab, tasks such as change access for all managers, change due date for all managers, return for correction, etc. can be configured from here. This new update gives administrator the ability to configure the approval task with better accessibility under a single page. Moving on to our next quick win, we have view additional eligibility information. This new update will be accessible in worker eligibility details under monitoring section of view administration reports. Here, under the details tab, when eligibility profile is clicked against the ineligible person, the information of eligibility profile which caused the ineligibility of that particular person for any plan or plan component is now displayed with elaborate details. This update provides a better accessibility of information such as eligibility profile name, eligibility status, ineligibility reason, if the mentioned profile is required or not, and assignment type used for evaluation in the profile. Moving on to a next upgrade for total compensation, we have person communication address columns. With this update, person mailing address columns are now visible in RTF file format also. Previously, these columns were not visible in RTF file format, although these were available in XML format. Moving on to our next quick win, again for total compensation, we have monetary unit of measure. With this update, the number of compensation items that are needed to be created can be reduced and simplified using a fast formula. Previously, an individual item had to be created for each currency, creating complexity. Now this enhancement lets a fast formula pass a valid currency code with other data. This in turn reduces the complexity of the fast formula that has to be created. In case when no currency code is passed along, then the setup currency is used as the default currency. To make this feasible, now fast formula uses two types of return variables. They are array variables and value variables. Our last feature under quick win category is update for information icons in all worksheet headers. This is just a cosmetic update from Oracle. Post this update, all the information icons in all the worksheet headers have been changed to I icon instead of question mark icon that was previously visible. With this, we have concluded all the quick wins with no configuration required. We will now move on to our next update category, quick wins with configuration required. These updates require some level of configuration to be implemented upon. This category contains updates just for the compensation cloud. In this category, we have our first update as disable withdraw worksheet submission. This update is available in configure approval and notification under workforce compensation plan task. This update gives an opportunity to the compensation administrator to revoke the manager's ability to withdraw their plan changes after they have submitted them. If this feature is enabled, then managers can no longer withdraw once they have submitted their changes. In the system, this feature allows withdraw button to be removed from the landing page, preventing managers to make any changes once they have submitted. This configuration can also be accessed for the active plans under property tabs when an active plan is selected under active plan task. Our next update in this category is all assignment for a person included in same grid step progression batch process thread. With this update, all the assignment of the person are handled in the same thread. Previously, the accept update process used the chunk size quantity to determine how many threads are there in each thread. Now with this update, the accept update process uses the chunk size quantity to determine how many people to process in each thread. With this, we have concluded the updates for quick wins, configuration required, category, and now we will move on to our next section, that is quick win opt-ins. As the name suggests, these features are optional and can be opted for if they suit the business requirements. Our first opt-in feature for benefit is consider waiting period for imputed income calculation. This update is available under enrollment train stop in benefit plan configuration. This update brings the options to consider a waiting period for a plan that is subjected to the imputed income. Previously, the imputed income rate calculation didn't consider the waiting period. Moving on to our next opt-in feature, track changes in enrollment data. This update allows admin to track user activity data within and outside the enrollment window. It tracks who accessed the object, what changes were made, and records before and after values. This enhancement tracks objects such as court orders, personal benefit balance, person habits, billing charges and payments, and person life events. Moving on to our next opt-in feature for compensation, we have post compensation amounts to simple components. This update enables to distribute and post salary components amount to back to the people whose salaries include simple components through transfer process. Previously, a user-defined integration or simple component feature was used in individual worker display to distribute and post salary components. This was the conclusion to the opt-in features as well. So we will now move on to a REST segment. All the updates in this segment don't fall under any segment mentioned previously. The only feature for this for the REST category, we have choose additional costing choices in benefit. As the name suggests, this upgrade is for Benefits Cloud. This update will give the flexibility to distribute rate costing across multiple assignments. That is, if there is some employee having multiple assignments, then that employee's benefit deductions can be divided among different assignments. This feature can be configured using a distribution fast formula. Previously, rates can only be costed against the primary assignment of the participant. So if there is a business requirement to distribute a participant cost among different assignments, now that can be configured after this update. As far as navigation is concerned for this update will be available under processing information in the benefit rate configuration page. This marks the end of the REST category, and now we will move on to the OTBI enhancements. For our first OTBI upgrade for compensation, we have the grade value of attributes such as grade name, minimum, maximum, midpoint values that are added in compensation salary details real time and compensation salary history details real time subject areas. For our second OTBI update, the range differential attributes have been added to compensation salary detail real time and compensation history details real time subject as well. You can later refer to the presentation and the test script to view all these enhancement updates. With this, we conclude all the updates for the benefits and compensation in the 22nd A quarterly upgrade. Now I will hand over to Hardik again before moving on to a closing session.
Thank you, Sarthak, for the wonderful insights. Before we move to the Q&A, we would quickly like to note down your area of interest in order to organize future webinar with more value-based content. So here on the screen, you can let us know your area of interest, whether it's technology innovation, managed services, value-based analytics, which is VBA, cloud transformation as well. On any of the service, if you feel that you have some questions, you can reach out to project manager and they can arrange a quick session as well. If you're not an Evosys customer, and if you're in the webinar, you can also write to us at business@evosysglobal.com. We'll be closing the poll, and we would like to tell you that we'll be sending you the recording of this presentation along with the test scripts and the presentation PDF as well with this. And before you'll leave us, we'd like to launch one more poll and would like to hear from you that how was today's overall experience? Along with that, we can see there is no questions asked. And if you do have questions at the later stage, you can do write to us on business@evosysglobal.com. In a second, we'll also show you the number of sessions coming in next week time. So thank you for the poll. And these are the upcoming sessions, which you can see on the screen. You can ask your colleagues to, and you can also be part of the same by registering. HR help desk, finance, workforce management and global payroll, supply chain management, inventory and order management, and PPM as well. So once again, we'll wrap it up. Before you leave us, we'd like to thank you once again, everyone, for your valuable time. And we will send you the presentation PDF along with the recording and test scripts without fail to your inbox. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your time.